A routine distress call. My name is Thexala, and I've been a station manager for the Galactic Trade Hub Nexus 7 for 20 standard cycles. I've seen thousands of species come through these docking bays. I've handled diplomatic incidents, trade disputes, and the occasional drunken brawl between incompatible species. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day a human engineer walked into my station and casually broke every law of physics we held sacred. It started like any other shift. The morning briefing was boring: cargo manifests, maintenance schedules, the usual bureaucratic nonsense that kept a station of 50,000 souls running smoothly. My assistant, a nervous Quillen named Pip, brought me my morning stimulant beverage, which tasted like recycled coolant but kept me functional. "Manager Thexala," Pip chirped, his feathers ruffling anxiously. "We have a distress signal from docking bay 47. A Kryn merchant vessel reports catastrophic engine failure." I sighed and pulled up the diagnostic readout. The Kryn were a proud species, beetle-like in appearance, with a reputation for maintaining their ships immaculately. If they were calling for help, something was seriously wrong. "What's the nature of the failure?" I asked, scanning the data streaming across my console. "Their quantum displacement drive has suffered a cascade failure in the primary containment matrix. The antimatter reaction chamber is destabilizing." Pip's voice rose an octave. "Manager, if that chamber breaches, it could destroy half the station." My 3 hearts started beating in an uncomfortable rhythm. Antimatter breaches were every station manager's nightmare. "Evacuate sectors 12 through 19. Get our best engineering team to Bay 47 immediately. And for the love of the ancients, someone find me a quantum specialist." The human arrives. That's when she walked in. I didn't notice her at first because humans were still relatively new to the galactic community. They'd only made first contact 15 cycles ago, and most of us still thought of them as the strange primates from that high-gravity death world called Earth. They were oddly fascinated by things that would kill most species: extreme temperatures, toxic chemicals, dangerous wildlife. We found them simultaneously amusing and disturbing. This human was female, I think. Human gender markers were still confusing to me. She stood about 1.7 meters tall, with dark skin and short black hair pulled back in what humans called a ponytail. She wore a grease-stained jumpsuit with patches from at least a dozen different star systems. And she was chewing something. Humans did that constantly, eating even when they weren't hungry. "Excuse me," she said in flawless galactic standard. "I heard you've got an antimatter problem." I stared at her. "Who are you?" "Chief Engineer Maya Rodriguez, formerly of the Earth Alliance Deep Space Corps. Currently freelancing." She held up a worn data pad. "I was passing through when I picked up the distress call. I can help." "This is a Kryn quantum displacement drive," I said slowly, as if explaining to a child. "It requires a level 9 certification in quantum mechanics and at least 50 cycles of experience with antimatter containment systems." Maya smiled. It was a strange expression, showing her flat white teeth. Humans smiled when they were happy, but also when they were about to do something incredibly stupid. I was learning to fear that smile. "I've got a level 12 certification in quantum mechanics, 73 cycles of experience with antimatter systems, and I once rebuilt a Vorlon battlecruiser's engine core while it was actively exploding," she said cheerfully. "So, are we going to stand here talking, or are we going to save your station?" Impossible solutions. I should have refused. Station regulations were clear: only certified galactic engineers could work on critical systems. But the alternative was evacuation and possible station destruction. I made a decision that would either save thousands of lives or end my career. "Fine. But you work under my supervision." We rushed to Bay 47. The Kryn captain, a dignified insectoid named Crixtal, met us at the airlock. His mandibles were clicking rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "Manager Thexala, the situation is critical," Crixtal buzzed. "My engineer estimates we have less than 2 hours before containment fails completely." I gestured to Maya. This is Chief Engineer Rodriguez. She's going to attempt a repair. Crickstal's compound eyes fixed on the human. A human? But they barely understand basic warp theory. This requires advanced quantum. Captain, Maya interrupted politely, with all due respect, my species split the atom before we left our home planet. We've been playing with things that explode for a very long time. Now, can I see your engine room, or would you prefer to keep explaining why I can't help while your ship turns into a small sun? Crickstal's mandibles snapped shut. After a moment, he gestured toward the ship's interior. Follow me. The engine room was chaos. Warning lights flashed in colors that hurt my eyes. The quantum drive's containment field was fluctuating wildly, and the temperature readings were climbing into the danger zone. 3 Kryn engineers stood around the massive engine core, their manipulators moving frantically across control panels. Maya stopped at the entrance and just looked. Her eyes moved across the engine, the displays, the containment fields. She stood perfectly still for 30 seconds. Then she pulled out a small device from her jumpsuit pocket, a human data pad covered in handwritten notes and coffee stains. Okay, she said quietly. I see the problem. Impossible, one of the Kryn engineers buzzed. We've been diagnosing this for 3 hours. Maya walked to the main control panel and started entering commands faster than I could follow. Your containment matrix is using a standard 6-dimensional quantum lattice, right? But your antimatter flow rate is configured for a 5-dimensional system. Someone upgraded your power output without recalibrating the containment geometry. The Kryn engineers looked at each other, their antennae drooping. That may have happened during our last maintenance cycle, Crickstal admitted. Thought so. This is actually a common problem with Kryn drives manufactured before cycle 2347. Maya was now pulling tools from her belt that looked disturbingly primitive, actual physical wrenches and screwdrivers. The fix is simple, but it requires recalibrating the quantum matrix while the system is active. That's impossible, I said. The radiation levels would kill anyone who opens that access panel. Maya glanced at me, then at the radiation warning sign. She reached into her jumpsuit and pulled out a small yellow and black badge. Radiation exposure monitor. Standard equipment for human engineers. Our species evolved on a planet with a damaged ozone layer. We can handle a lot more radiation than most species. But the quantum fluctuations will give me a headache and probably make me nauseous. I'll deal with it. She turned to the Kryn engineers. I need you to maintain the primary containment field at exactly 94.7%. Not 94.6, not 94.8, exactly 94.7. Can you do that? They nodded, too shocked to argue. Breaking the rules. What happened next would become station legend. Maya opened the access panel that every safety regulation said must never be opened during active operation. She climbed inside the quantum drive's maintenance shaft, a space barely large enough for her human frame, and started working. Through the external monitors, I watched her hands move with impossible precision. She was literally reaching into a quantum field that was shifting between 6 different dimensional states, adjusting calibration crystals that were vibrating at frequencies that should have torn her molecules apart. Manager, Pip whispered beside me, the radiation levels in that shaft are lethal. She should be dead. I know, I whispered back. But Maya wasn't dead. She was humming. Actually humming some kind of human music while she worked inside a quantum engine that was trying to explode. After 45 minutes of work that should have required 3 days and a team of specialists, she emerged from the shaft, her face covered in sweat and some kind of dark grease. All done, she announced. Your containment matrix is now properly calibrated. You'll want to run a level 3 diagnostic, but the immediate danger is over. The warning's lights stopped flashing. The temperature readings began dropping. The quantum field stabilized into a perfect, humming equilibrium. Crickstal stared at his instruments in disbelief. How did you do that? Maya wiped her hands on a rag. Pattern recognition, mostly. Human brains are really good at seeing patterns in complex systems. Plus, I've seen this exact problem about 20 times before. Once you know what to look for, it's just a matter of having the guts to stick your hand in and fix it. The radiation, one of the CRIN engineers started. Will probably take 5 years off my life expectancy, Maya said with a shrug. But humans live for 90 cycles anyway, so I can spare it. Besides, better than letting your ship explode and take half the station with it. I realized my mandibles were hanging open. I closed them with effort. Chief Engineer Rodriguez, you just violated approximately 15 galactic safety regulations. She grinned. Yeah, I noticed. You going to arrest me or thank me? Before I could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the station. But these were different, not emergency alarms, but proximity warnings. Something massive had just dropped out of hyperspace near the station. Pip was frantically checking his console. Manager. We have an unscheduled arrival. Oh no. It's a Zarkonian warcruiser. They're hailing us. They sound angry. Maya raised an eyebrow. Zarkonian? Those are the giant reptile guys who think they're the toughest species in the galaxy, right? Yes, I said, my voice hollow with dread. And they're demanding to speak with whoever is in charge immediately. Something about a stolen shipment of quantum phase crystals. Maya looked at the CRIN captain, who suddenly seemed very interested in his ship's floor panels. Captain Crixtal, I said slowly, please tell me you didn't steal from the Zarkonians. The CRIN captain's antennae drooped even further. It was a minor misunderstanding involving trade permits and possibly some crystals that may have accidentally ended up in my cargo hold. Oh, for the love of... I pressed my fingers to my temples, feeling a pressure headache building. First an antimatter crisis, now an interstellar incident with the most aggressive warrior race in the sector. Maya, however, was smiling that dangerous human smile again. You know what? This is going to be interesting. I always wanted to meet a Zarkonian. Let's go have a chat. You can't just, I started, but she was already walking toward the docking bay entrance. Coming, she called over her shoulder. Or are you going to let me handle galactic diplomacy alone? I looked at Pip, who looked back at me with wide, terrified eyes. Then I ran after the human, because somehow, in the span of one morning, she had become the most dangerous and valuable person on my station. And I had a feeling our day was about to get much, much more complicated. The Zarkonian delegation. The Zarkonian warcruiser dominated the docking bay viewport like a predator looming over prey. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of any ship currently docked at Nexus 7. Dark metal hull plating covered in weapon ports, shield generators that could probably withstand a direct hit from a small star, and engines that glowed with barely contained power. This was a ship designed for one purpose, domination. I had dealt with Zarkonians before. They were reptilian, standing nearly 3 meters tall, covered in armored scales that could deflect most small arms fire. They had 4 arms, each ending in claws that could tear through standard hull plating. Their culture valued strength above all else, and they had a disturbing tendency to solve diplomatic disputes by challenging people to single combat. Manager Thaxala, the Zarkonian commander's voice boomed through the communication system, I am War Chief Krozov of the 7th Battle Fleet. You are harboring a criminal who has stolen property belonging to the Zarkonian Empire. Surrender the thief immediately, or we will consider your station to be in violation of interstellar law. Maya whistled softly. He sounds cheerful. Cheerful? I hissed at her. He just threatened to destroy the station. Oh please, that's not a real threat. That's posturing. She studied the warcruiser through the viewport. If he wanted to destroy the station, he would have already done it. He's here for the crystals, not a massacre. This is a negotiation, he just doesn't realize it yet. You can't negotiate with Zarkonians, I insisted. They don't negotiate. They demand, and you comply, or they take what they want by force. Maya's smile widened. Then they haven't met a human before. Come on, let's go say hello. The meeting. 10 minutes later, we stood in the main conference room facing Warchief Krozov and his two bodyguards. Up close, Zarkonians were even more intimidating. Krozov's scales were deep crimson, marked with scars from countless battles. His four arms were crossed over his massive chest, and his yellow eyes fixed on Captain Krixtal with predatory focus. The Kryn insect stole 50 quantum phase crystals from a military supply depot in the Zarkara system, Krozov rumbled. This is an act of war. I am authorized to retrieve the crystals and execute the thief. Krixtal's mandibles were clicking so rapidly they created a continuous buzz. It was a misunderstanding. The paperwork was unclear. I thought they were surplus materials available for civilian purchase. Lies. Krozov's hand moved to the massive sword strapped to his back. Prepare to die with whatever honor your species possesses. Wait. Maya stepped forward. Krozov's eyes shifted to her, and I saw something flicker in his expression. Surprise? Curiosity? A human? I have heard of your species. You come from a death world. Interesting. Step aside, human. This does not concern you. Actually, it does, Maya said calmly. I'm the station's civilian engineering consultant, which makes any threat to station security my concern. Also, I'm curious about something. Curious? Krozov's tone suggested that curiosity was not a quality he valued. Yeah. Those quantum phase crystals you're looking for, did you actually check their calibration certificates before you accused Captain Krixtal of stealing them? The room went silent. Krozov's scales rippled, a Zarkonian expression of confusion. What are you talking about, human? Maya pulled out her datapad and tapped it a few times. I did a quick scan of the captain's cargo hold while we were dealing with his engine problem. He's got 50 quantum phase crystals in there, all right. But according to their serial numbers, they were manufactured in the VRYNN Consortium 3 cycles ago and sold through legitimate commercial channels. Impossible. Our crystals were military-grade, manufactured in Zarkonian facilities. Are you sure? Maya turned her datapad around, showing the screen to Krozov. Because these are civilian-grade, wrong molecular structure for military applications. Someone in your supply chain has been replacing military crystals with civilian ones and pocketing the difference. Classic embezzlement scheme. I watched Krozov's expression change from anger to calculation. You are suggesting that someone in my own fleet has been stealing from us? I'm saying that Captain Krixtal didn't steal your crystals, because these aren't your crystals. Your crystals are probably sitting in some corrupt supply officer's personal stash, waiting to be sold on the black market. Maya shrugged. But hey, if you want to execute an innocent merchant and start an interstellar incident over a misunderstanding, that's your choice. The challenge. Krozov stared at Maya for a long moment. Then he did something I had never seen a Zarkonian do, he laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that made the deck plates vibrate. You have courage, human. And cleverness. I like this. He turned to one of his bodyguards. Check the serial numbers on those crystals. Verify the human's claims. While we waited, Krozov studied Maya with obvious interest. Tell me, human. What is your name? Maya Rodriguez, Chief Engineer. Engineer. A builder, not a warrior. Yet you stand before a Zarkonian warchief without fear. Why? Maya tilted her head. Why would I be afraid? You're not going to kill me. How can you be certain? Because you're intelligent. Killing me would be wasteful and wouldn't solve your actual problem. You're here for justice, not violence. The violence is just your cultural framework for achieving justice. She paused. Also, I fixed a quantum drive in less than an hour this morning. I'm feeling pretty confident about my problem-solving abilities right now. Krozov's laugh echoed through the room again. I have fought warriors across 100 worlds, human. I have faced opponents twice my size and enemies who could tear starships apart with their minds. But I have never met someone who treated my threats as a logic puzzle to be solved. The bodyguard returned and whispered something to Krozov. The war chief's expression darkened. The human speaks truth. These are civilian crystals. Someone in my fleet has betrayed us. I can help you track down who did it, Maya offered. Crystal manufacturing leaves specific quantum signatures. If you give me access to your supply records, I can probably trace where your real crystals went. Why would you help us? Krozov asked suspiciously. Because you're angry at the wrong person, and that offends my sense of fairness. Also, because solving problems is what I do. Maya smiled. Besides, I've always wanted to see the inside of a Zarkonian warcruiser. I hear your engine designs are fascinating. Mutual respect. What happened next shocked everyone in the room, including me. Krozov extended one of his massive four-fingered hands to Maya. You have earned my respect, Engineer Rodriguez. I accept your offer of assistance. And when we find the traitor who stole from us, you will be present to witness their punishment. Maya shook his hand without hesitation, her small human hand disappearing in his grip. Deal. But fair warning, if your punishment involves anything too violent, I'm going to suggest alternatives. Humans have this whole thing about proportional justice. We shall see, Krozov said, but there was amusement in his voice. Come. My ship awaits. As they left together, Maya chatting casually with a Zarkonian war chief about quantum engine specifications while his bodyguards looked increasingly confused, I turned to Pip. Did that just happen? My assistant asked weakly. A human engineer just befriended a Zarkonian warrior by solving his supply chain management problem, I said. Yes. That just happened. Captain Crickstell's mandibles were finally still. Is she always like this? I've known her for exactly 3 hours, I replied, but I'm going to say yes. Definitely yes. The investigation. Over the next 6 hours, Maya worked with Krozov's crew to trace the stolen crystals. I watched through remote monitors as she moved through the Zarkonian warcruiser like she owned the place, pointing at consoles, explaining complex quantum signatures to confused warriors, and somehow getting them to cooperate with her investigation. The Zarkonians, I noticed, responded to her with something close to respect. Maybe it was because she didn't show fear. Maybe it was because she treated their violent threats as temporary obstacles rather than deal-breakers. Or maybe, I was starting to suspect, it was because humans had a unique ability to find common ground with almost anyone. She found the culprit in record time, a Zarkonian supply officer who had been systematically replacing military-grade crystals with civilian ones for the past 8 cycles. The evidence was irrefutable. When confronted, the officer tried to fight his way out, which was a mistake. Krozov handled him personally, and Maya politely excused herself during that part. I understand you have cultural traditions, she told me later, but I didn't need to watch someone get torn in half. Human stomachs are delicate. New alliances. When Maya returned to Nexus 7, she was accompanied by Krozov himself. The war chief requested a formal meeting in my office, which I granted despite my better judgment. Manager Thaxala, Krozov announced, Engineer Rodriguez has performed a valuable service to the Zarkonian Empire. She has exposed corruption in our ranks and helped us recover our stolen property. In recognition of this, the Empire grants this station most favored trading status. I nearly fell out of my chair. Most favored trading status with the Zarkonians was worth millions in increased commerce and security guarantees. War Chief, this is incredibly generous. It is deserved, Krozov interrupted. Also, I wish to hire Engineer Rodriguez as a consultant for our fleet. Our engine efficiency is suboptimal, and she claims she can improve it by 17%. Maya grinned. 18%, actually. I was being modest before. You cannot hire her, I protested. She's a freelance contractor. She goes where she wants. Which is why I'm accepting, Maya said. But on my terms. I work flexible hours, I get paid in galactic credits, and the Zarkonians agree to nonviolent dispute resolution for any conflicts that arise in this sector. Krasotha's eyes narrowed. You ask much, human. I'm worth it, Maya said simply. You know I am. Another long moment of silence. Then Krasoth nodded. Agreed. You are unlike any species we have encountered, Engineer Rodriguez. You combine weakness of body with strength of mind. You use words as weapons more effectively than most use swords. Perhaps there is wisdom in this approach. There is, Maya assured him. Also, violence is expensive. Peace is profitable. I'm surprised more warrior cultures haven't figured that out. The new reality. After Krasoth left, I sat in my office trying to process what had just happened. Maya had walked into my station that morning as an unknown human engineer. In less than 12 hours, she had prevented an antimatter explosion, solved an interstellar theft, befriended a Zarkonian war chief, and secured a massive trade agreement for my station. How? I finally asked when she stopped by to collect her payment. How did you do all of that? Maya shrugged. Problem solving is problem solving, whether it's a quantum engine or an angry alien warrior. You just need to identify what people actually want, find a solution that gives it to them, and explain it in terms they can understand. But the risks you took were calculated, she interrupted. Look, humans spent 10,000 cycles figuring out how to not kill each other over resources. We tried war, diplomacy, trade, religion, philosophy, and every combination thereof. By the time we got to space, we were really, really good at reading social situations and finding nonviolent solutions. It's literally a survival skill for us. She pulled out a small data chip and placed it on my desk. That's my report on the station's other potential problems. You've got a coolant leak in Sector 14, a misaligned sensor array in Bay 23, and someone in your administrative staff is embezzling small amounts from the maintenance budget. Nothing critical, but you should fix them. How did you? I pay attention, Maya said simply. It's a human thing. We notice patterns. We connect dots. We solve problems. She headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and manager? You're going to get more humans visiting this station soon. Word travels fast among my people. We tend to go where we're appreciated. Is that a warning? I asked. She smiled that dangerous human smile one more time. It's a promise. We're good at making friends, better at making money, and excellent at fixing things other species think are impossible. You want a peaceful, profitable station? Let humans handle the complicated stuff. 6 cycles later. Maya Rodriguez was right about everything, of course. Within 6 cycles, Nexus 7 became known as the most human-friendly station in the sector. More humans arrived, bringing their strange but effective approaches to trade, diplomacy, and engineering. Station efficiency improved by 32%. Trade volume doubled. Violent incidents dropped to nearly zero because, as one human trader explained to me, fighting is bad for business, and humans really like business. The Zarkonians became our most reliable trading partners, largely because Maya spent 2 cycles upgrading their entire fleet's engine systems and teaching their engineers her methods. Krasoth himself became a regular visitor to the station, which other species found terrifying but which I had learned to appreciate. Nothing says safe station like having a Zarkonian war chief as a personal friend. As for me, I got promoted to regional director, largely because my station became the model for human-alien cooperation throughout the sector. Commander Griggs, my supervisor, pulled me aside during the promotion ceremony. Thexala, he said, when you first reported that you'd let an uncertified human engineer repair a critical system, I nearly fired you on the spot. I know, sir. But you were right to trust her. The humans are unlike any species we've encountered. They break our rules, ignore our protocols, and somehow make everything work better than before. He paused. The galaxy is changing, Thexala. The humans are teaching us that sometimes the impossible is just the difficult we haven't figured out yet. I thought about Maya Rodriguez, currently somewhere in the Zirconian Empire, probably breaking a dozen safety regulations while improving engine efficiency and mediating disputes between warrior clans. I thought about all the other humans spreading through the galaxy, solving problems, making friends, and casually ignoring the laws of physics when those laws became inconvenient. Yes, sir, I agreed. The galaxy is changing. And humanity is teaching us that sometimes, the best solution to a complex problem is to hand it to a stubborn primate who refuses to accept that anything is impossible. Griggs laughed. That might be the most accurate description of humans I've ever heard. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to review a report from Station Nexus 12. Apparently, a human chef has revolutionized their food service by introducing something called fusion cuisine, and now 3 different species are demanding he share his recipes. Sounds like a human, I said with what I hoped was a smile. Because that's what humans did. They showed up, broke your rules, solved your problems, and somehow made friends with everyone in the process. They were weak and strong, logical and emotional, peaceful and dangerous. They were, I had learned, exactly what the galaxy needed. And I, for one, was grateful they had decided to join us among the stars.